You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
CISOs and CIOs know machine identities now outnumber humans by more than 80-1. And without securing them, trust, uptime, outages, and compliance are at risk. CyberArk is leading the way with the only unified platform purpose-built to secure every machine identity, certificates, secrets, and workloads across all environments, all clouds, and all AI agents. Designed for scale, automation, and quantum readiness, CyberArk helps modern enterprises secure their machine future. Visit cyberark.com/machines to see how. The National Nuclear Security Administration was among the organizations impacted by the SharePoint Zero Day. Experts testify before Congress that OT security still lags. The FBI warns healthcare and critical infrastructure providers about Interlock ransomware. New York proposes new cybersecurity regulations for water and wastewater systems, along with grants to fund them. Researchers uncover an active cryptomining campaign targeting cloud environments. A new variant of the Coyote banking trojan exploits Microsoft's Windows UI automation framework for credential theft. The DoD pilots an Agentic AI project aimed at helping military planners critique and enhance war plans. Clorox sues its former IT service provider for $380 million. Our guest is Tim Starks from CyberScoop, discussing sanctions on Russian hackers and spies. And Pirate Prime, do the time. It's Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great, as always, to have you with us. Continuing our coverage of the Microsoft SharePoint Zero-Day exploit, new reports reveal that the National Nuclear Security Administration was among the over 50 organizations impacted. Bloomberg reports that the agency, which supplies nuclear reactors for U.S. Navy submarines, was affected by the vulnerability, though no classified data appears to have leaked. The Department of Energy credits its use of Microsoft 365 cloud services and strong cybersecurity practices for limiting the breach's impact to just a few systems, which are now being restored. The exploit, tied to two bugs revealed at May's Pwn2Own hacking contest, allowed attackers remote access to SharePoint servers. Microsoft has since issued patches for all affected versions. The breach is linked to Chinese state-affiliated actors, adding to growing concerns over foreign targeting of critical infrastructure. And speaking of critical infrastructure, a congressional hearing by the Homeland Security Subcommittee on Cybersecurity reviewed the growing threat to U.S. critical infrastructure 15 years after the discovery of the Stuxnet worm. Journalist Kim Zetter, author of the book Stuxnet, Countdown to Zero Day, shared her own insights.
Stuxnet was a first-of-its-kind attack, the first known case of malicious code designed to leap from the digital world to the physical realm to cause disruption and destruction, not of the computers it infected, but of equipment and processes these computers controlled, in this case, the centrifuges at Natanz. The same techniques Stuxnet used can be used against critical infrastructure in the U.S. to disrupt services the public, government, and military rely on, or to damage equipment. They can also cause death, either directly by causing passenger trains to collide or indirectly by preventing patients from being treated at hospitals because the electricity is out.
Stuxnet marked the beginning of cyber tools causing real-world physical damage, targeting Iran's nuclear program. Experts testified that operational technology, the systems running critical services like water, energy, and transportation, remains dangerously vulnerable. Robert M. Lee, CEO of Dragos, shared this testimony.
Let me be blunt. We are not prepared for a major attack on our critical infrastructure. We know that such an attack would be part of any major conflict with an adversary, but we are not doing enough to prepare, and the results of continued failure could be catastrophic, including the loss of life.
Witnesses emphasize that OT security still lags behind IT, leaving sectors exposed to ransomware, malware, and state-sponsored threats, especially from Iran and China. Calls were made to reauthorize key laws like the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act and to boost funding for the state and local cybersecurity grant program. Panelists urged clear federal guidance, public-private collaboration, and a shift from general IT approaches to OT-specific strategies. They warned that without decisive action, the U.S. risks catastrophic failures in critical systems during future cyber conflicts. Amios Group, a major private healthcare provider in Central Europe, reported a July 7th breach that forced a shutdown of its digital systems, disrupting communications and data transmission across clinics in Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. Patient care and emergency services remained unaffected. The nature of the attack is unknown, with an investigation underway by police. Amios has notified data protection authorities and warned patients to watch for phishing and scams. The FBI is warning healthcare and critical infrastructure providers about Interlock, a ransomware group active since late 2024. Interlock uses unusual initial access methods, including drive-by downloads and fake browser updates to infect systems. It's targeted organizations in North America and Europe, including attacks on DaVita and a major Ohio healthcare system. The group's ransom notes lack payment details, requesting contact instead. Officials say Interlock targets victims opportunistically and may be linked to the Riceta group. Ransom demands are made in Bitcoin. New York has proposed new cybersecurity regulations for water and wastewater systems, alongside a $2.5 million grant program to help fund compliance. The rules would require systems serving over 3,300 residents to implement cybersecurity programs, conduct risk assessments, report incidents within 24 hours, and train staff. Larger systems must also appoint a cybersecurity executive. While the grants aim to ease costs, expenses could reach up to $5 million annually for major systems. The regulations, aligned with EPA and CISA guidance, follow growing threats from ransomware and state-backed attacks. Public comment is open through September, with full compliance expected by 2027. Officials acknowledge costs may burden taxpayers or ratepayers, but emphasize the need for proactive security amid federal retreat from state-level support. Researchers at Wiz have uncovered an active cryptomining campaign dubbed SOCO 404, targeting cloud environments via misconfigurations and vulnerabilities, especially in PostgreSQL. The attackers exploit exposed Linux and Windows systems using fake 404 pages, compromised servers, and process masquerading to deliver and hide malware. Persistence is achieved through cron jobs and shell scripts. Payloads are hosted on legitimate but compromised infrastructure and fraudulent crypto trading websites. Once inside, the malware removes competitors, hides traces, and mines cryptocurrency using pools. The Windows variant uses built-in tools like certutil and PowerShell to deliver payloads and embeds a driver to boost mining performance. The campaign is linked to a broader crypto scam network, showing signs of long-term automated and opportunistic operations. Nearly 90% of cloud environments self-host PostgreSQL, making this a high-risk attack vector. The campaign remains active. A new variant of the Coyote banking trojan is actively exploiting Microsoft's Windows UI automation framework, UIA, to identify banking and cryptocurrency websites for credential theft. UIA, designed for accessibility, allows apps to inspect and interact with UI elements, features now being abused to evade detection. First observed in February of this year, this marks the first real-world attack using UIA for data theft. Coyote is hard-coded to target 75 specific financial services, mostly in Brazil, and uses UIA to detect URLs in browser tabs when traditional methods fail. The U.S. DoD's Defense Innovation Unit is piloting ThunderForge, an agentic AI project aimed at helping military planners critique and enhance war plans. ThunderForge uses multiple AI agents to analyze plans across domains like logistics, cyber, and intelligence, flagging potential weaknesses. The system integrates with DoD simulations like DARPA's SafeSim and is backed by Scale AI, Microsoft, and Anduril. Tested in June by Indo-PACOM, ThunderForge is designed to shift human users from micromanaging tasks to strategic oversight. However, experts warn of risks, including opaque decision-making, hallucinated outputs, and over-reliance on flawed models. Researchers emphasize the need for explainability, continuous adversarial testing, and human oversight. Benchmarking studies show LLMs vary in bias and escalation tendencies, underscoring the importance of model selection. While promising, ThunderForge must prove resilient in wartime conditions where systems face degraded information and adversarial interference. Human commanders retain final authority in all operational decisions. Clorox is suing its former IT service provider, Cognizant, for $380 million, claiming the firm's negligence enabled a devastating August 2023 cyber attack. Filed in California Superior Court, the lawsuit alleges Cognizant failed to verify the identity of a caller before granting access to Clorox's network, violating established password and authentication protocols. The attacker, linked to a known cybercriminal group, used the credentials to disrupt Clorox's operations, causing weeks-long outages and at least $49 million in damages. Call recordings reportedly confirm Cognizant handed over access without security checks. Clorox's legal counsel described the failure as indefensible. The breach halted production, strained supply chains, and forced Clorox to scale back its 2030 sustainability goals. Cognizant had served Clorox for over a decade under a long-standing IT services agreement. Coming up after the break, Tim Starks from CyberScoop discusses the latest sanctions on Russian hackers and spies, and Pirate Prime, do the time. Stay with us. Bad actors don't break in, they log in. Attackers use stolen credentials in nearly 9 out of 10 data breaches, and once inside, they're after one thing: your data. Varonis's AI-powered data security platform secures your data at scale. Across LaaS, SaaS, and hybrid cloud environments, join thousands of organizations who trust Varonis to keep their data safe. Get a free data risk assessment at varonis.com. Krogal is AI built for the enterprise SOC, fully private, schema-free, and capable of running in sensitive, air-gapped environments. Krogal autonomously investigates thousands of alerts weekly, correlating insights across your tools without data leaving your perimeter. Designed for high availability across geographies, it delivers context-aware, auditable decisions aligned to your workflows. Krogal empowers analysts to act faster and focus on critical threats, replacing repetitive triage with intelligent automation to help your SOC operate at scale with precision and control. Learn more at Krogal.com. That's CROGL.com. And it is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Tim Starks. He is a senior reporter at CyberScoop. So we touched last week here at the Cyberwire on these sanctions from the UK against some of the GRU's cyber operators here. You have an article in CyberScoop that really digs into some of the details quite a bit here. Can we start with the basics? What are we talking about here, Tim?
Sure, yeah. The UK sanctioned 18 military officers from Russia and 3 military units. Some of these were hackers, some of them were just regular kinds of spies without a hacking angle. But there were a couple different reasons that the UK decided to do this that related to the cyber front. One was the use of hacking as a way to support military operations in Ukraine and the Ukraine war. Another was a little bit more interesting to me. I mean, nothing against the interestingness of Ukraine and what's going on there, but just we've seen that before. What was the other thing that was interesting is that they went back to 2013 on something essentially where there was a person. A double agent for the British government working in Russia, who came over to the UK with his daughter, and they had found that in 2013, 5 years before that happened, and then there was a subsequent assassination attempt on UK soil, that the phone of the daughter, Yulia Skripal, if I believe I'm saying the name right, that they found malware on that, and so this was actually trying to punish them for that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those stories of the poisonings, back then. It's interesting that they've gone all the way back to loop that in with this.
It is, and for a domestic audience, if you're talking about just the U.S. audience that I have, not that we don't welcome people from all countries, but a largely domestic audience for our publication. The malware that they specifically targeted in the UK that was used by these Russian hackers was called X-Agent, which, if you go back to our 2016 election, that malware was used against the DCCC and the DNC to interfere with the 2016 race.
Wow. So, I mean, sanctions like these are often seen as symbolic. How effective do you think this will ultimately be?
It doesn't seem like it's dissuaded Russia from doing what it's been doing. So that's the ultimate test, right? That's the ultimate evaluation. Have they stopped doing it? No, they have not stopped the war in Ukraine. They're still doing all the hacking that we talked about. There's the Russian military units in particular that they went after are involved in some of the most infamous incidents in cybersecurity history. Things like the NotPetya attack or the successful turning out of the lights in Ukraine way back. Hacking of elections all over the country, all over the world. And so if you're just going by that judgment, then yeah, no, they're not working. But if you think that each additional twist of the dial or turn of the dial leads to more pressure, and there's pressure coming from other directions as well, this is part of the toolkit. And I think, if something does happen where it ends, and this leads to yet more sanctions from the United States, which is another thing that's on the table here, then you can say, yeah, that was actually a factor in doing that. But now, no, not yet.
Your reporting points out that the UK warned that the GRU may shift their cyber tactics in response to this.
Exactly.
Any speculation of what type of scenarios we could be looking at if this threat spills over beyond Ukraine?
No, they didn't talk much about it in terms of details about the kinds of scenarios that they saw, but just that it was a possibility. I think you can obviously look at the warning that they put out, because there were 2 things they announced on Friday. One was that they were issuing these sanctions, and another was an alert about the hybrid cyber threat to the UK and others, detailing the specifics of these incidents and saying, hey, look, the Russian threat's going to keep morphing the more pressure we put on them, essentially. So be on the lookout for these kinds of things, is what the alert said.
What kind of message does this send to the international community about hybrid warfare?
One of the things I thought was interesting about this is that they didn't wait for the United States. There's been an awful lot of coordinated action in the past administration, certainly. I think even some in the first Trump administration, where the sanctions were UK, US, Five Eyes countries, the occasional other partner. This was the UK saying, let's get going on this, I think. I think that's the message they were trying to send is, we're not going to wait for anybody else. We think this is important enough. We feel like we need to protect Ukraine. We feel like we need to protect ourselves. We think we need to protect Europe. And there was a sort of a call to others to join in on this, that they said. They didn't call the United States specifically, but the language was to the extent of, hey, we've got to do this together. So I think with the fact that Congress is looking at some more sanctions on Russia, Trump himself, who has been very generous to Vladimir Putin on his intentions, has actually been more outspoken of late about being impatient with Vladimir Putin. He has talked about more sanctions. I think that this might be just, we're talking about, again, that sort of twist, the turn of the dial. This is another thing that could maybe put a little bit more pressure on the United States and other allies of the UK to say, look, we really need to keep going harder at Russia. They're not stopping doing what we want them to stop doing. We've got to go after them. This was a little bit of a, let's get started.
And what response, if any, have we seen from the U.S. to this move by the UK?
Nothing yet. I think that because Congress had already kind of been talking about this, there's some bipartisan interest in doing this. Trump had said, just the day before, I'm giving him 50 days. So I don't think we're going to see much in the way of actual response from the United States until some of those things start to coalesce.
All right. Well, Tim Starks is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
Compliance regulations, third-party risk, and customer security demands are all growing and changing fast. Is your manual GRC program actually slowing you down? If you're thinking there has to be something more efficient than spreadsheets, screenshots, and all those manual processes, you're right. GRC can be so much easier, and it can strengthen your security posture while actually driving revenue for your business. One of the things I really like about Vanta is how it takes the heavy lifting out of your GRC program. Their trust management platform automates those key areas: compliance, internal and third-party risk, and even customer trust, so you're not buried under spreadsheets and endless manual tasks. Vanta really streamlines the way you gather and manage information across your entire business. And this isn't just theoretical. A recent IDC analysis found that compliance teams using Vanta are 129% more productive. It's a pretty impressive number. So what does it mean for you? It means you get back more time and energy to focus on what actually matters, like strengthening your security posture and scaling your business. Vanta, GRC. Just imagine how much easier trust can be. Visit vanta.com/cyber to sign up today for a free demo. That's vanta.com/cyber. Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K. And finally, Christopher Lee Dahlman, founder of the pirated streaming empire Jetflix, has earned himself a 7-year federal sentence. Less binge-worthy, perhaps, than the 183,000 TV episodes his platform once offered, but certainly more exclusive. Jetflix, which operated from 2007 to 2019, was essentially Netflix without the licensing fees or moral overhead. Dahlman and his colleagues automated the theft of shows from legitimate sources like Hulu and Amazon, repackaging them for tens of thousands of paying subscribers, and called it all innovation. The Justice Department estimates the operation caused $37.5 million in damages, roughly the cost of a mid-tier prestige drama, minus the Emmy Awards. Dahlman was convicted of money laundering and various flavors of copyright infringement. His setup delivered shows faster than most legal platforms, which is impressive in a way, if entirely illegal. Prosecutors say the scheme eroded creative industries and flouted the rule of law. Dahlman, for his part, has now secured a much more confined viewing experience. And that's the Cyberwire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're conducting our annual audience survey to learn more about our listeners. We're collecting your insights through the end of August. There's a link in the show notes. Please take a moment and check it out. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our Cyberwire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilby is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker, the powerful zero-trust enterprise solution that stops ransomware in its tracks. Allow Listing is a deny-by-default software that makes application control simple and fast. Ring fencing is an application containment strategy, ensuring apps can only access the files, registry keys, network resources, and other applications they truly need to function. Shut out cybercriminals with world-class endpoint protection from ThreatLocker.